Hey everybody, we're talking about modes, arpeggios, and scales. So what is a mode? A mode is a way of describing each of the notes in the major scale, which is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. A mode is a way to describe each one of the notes in the major scale as a starting point and a flavor unto itself. Okay? That's all it is. Take the major scale in A, say for instance, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Well, we take our starting point as the first note. That's the Ionian mode. Sounds exactly the same as the major scale. Ionian mode. The Dorian mode is the second note of the major scale. So let's use that as a starting point, and we end off at our starting point. So we're going to go Dorian. That's a Dorian mode. All we're doing is taking this scale and we're starting on the second note and ending one note after where we normally end here, which would be 1, 2. So you see that? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. We start on the third degree. We go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. And that's how it goes. It's all the major scale. Every mode is related to the major scale. It's just a different starting point. So the spacing of the notes in the major scale are as such. It is, so from the root, the spacing is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So therefore, if we start on the second degree of that theory, that idea, it would be tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, tone. So we're going. If we then start at the next degree of it, we would have our root, then we would have a semitone, tone, 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 semitone, tone, tone. See how it's working now? If we do the same on the fourth, we get the, basically that's where the modes come from that we just played through, okay? So I'm going to play through them with you right now, the modes first, and I want you to practice them with a 1 finger per fret rule. Okay, so in this particular instance, our index finger is responsible for 4th, middle for 5th, ring for 6th, and pinky for 7th. Those are the rules. You got to play by those rules, okay? So, the modes as follows. Ionian mode. Try and pull my fingers out of the way. Don't expect you to play them like that, but if I leave my hand there and play through the modes, you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing, okay? This is our Ionian mode, also our major scale. Now let's do the Dorian mode. That's our Dorian. Let's talk about the Phrygian. Now we're on the Lydian. Now we're on the mixed Lydian. Okay, now we're switching over to the D string for our root for our Aeolian mode. So we're going. The super astute of you will notice that I kind of broke that rule there, but I really wanted you to keep to the finger per fret rule here. And then our seventh shape, which is the Locrian mode or Locrian mode, depending on where you're from, sounds like this. Kind of a sour sounding mode, but useful still. And then our last mode goes like this. And that might sound familiar to you because it's actually the Ionian mode again. It's the eighth shape of that series. But if you can hear this, it's the same set of notes, just played in a different voicing, an octave higher basically, and on different strings. So. So you can hear that it's the same notes, just played an octave apart. Okay, practice those bits, pause the tape, rewind, go back over the modes, and try and learn those shapes. Now what we've got, moving on from the modes, are the arpeggios associated with those modes. So we have the chords that I'll play through them here. So let's say we're playing in the key of A major. So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. But check out the chords that are associated with that. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, la, 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 la. And how do we get those chords? Well, we take those modes that we just played and we skip every other note. It's called tertian harmony, which means you're stacking the notes in thirds. So we're going from 1, skipping the 2, playing the 3rd, skipping the 4, play the 5, skip the 6, play the 7. What does that sound like? That is an arpeggio of a major 7 chord. hear how those notes are related? Okay, so let's go through the arpeggios in the key of A now. So they're going to go like this. Keep in mind, don't pull your fingers away the way I'm doing when I'm showing you. I'm just trying to exaggerate so that you guys can see exactly what notes I'm playing. So second shape, third shape. This is our third shape. Fourth shape. Fifth shape. There's a sixth shape coming up now. Okay, now we've got the seventh shape, arpeggio. We roll the pinky to the next note. We're on the same fret but two adjacent strings. So roll it. Okay, so I'll just show you that pinky roll one more time. Roll it back, down, boom. Okay, and then our last arpeggio is just like a sweet little diagonal line, just starting with your pinky on the D string on the 7th fret, then ring on the 6th fret of the G string, your middle on the 5th fret of the B string, and then your index on the 4th fret. So it goes like this. Okay, so those are all the arpeggio shapes, okay? And that is the link between the modes and the chords, okay? So how are the arpeggio notes related to the chords? Let's use our first mode as an example because it's a starting point. So I don't want to, beat a dead horse here, but here's our Ionian mode. La 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 la. Always sing your notes because it helps burn them into your brain a bit better. Okay, now what we did is we skipped every other note and came up with this shape. Our arpeggio. Well, check this out. In this chord, which is in the key of A major 7, that's a major 7 arpeggio. This is an A major 7 chord. We have a 1. We have a flat 7. We have a 3. And we have a 5. So it's 1, 7, 3, 5. is the way it's organized in the chord. But in the arpeggio, 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay? So that's how they're related. The chord is just the notes of an arpeggio played all together at once and allowed to ring. In a nice way, if you got a whammy bar, you know, I see a lot of guys, they use the whammy bar for their soloing and stuff like that. But just check out a nice major 7 chord with a little bit of a shimmer of the whammy bar. So I'll just grab it there with my pinky, strum it. You don't even really have to pull it, you just move your hand gently. Okay, so I don't know why I'm showing you whammy bar stuff, but I just thought it sounded nice to shimmer a little chord around like that. Okay, so now that we've found out how the Ionian mode, the major 7 arpeggio in A, is related to the first chord, now we can run through all of the chords in the sequence. We know how the chords are built, we know where the notes come from. Now let's memorize these chords, and we also know the distance between the notes, right? So now let's memorize these chords in one position on the guitar. Remember, it's all movable. If you can play an A on the guitar, you should be able to play in B flat. You should be able to play in D. You should be able to play in G, because remember, these shapes are all movable on the guitar. Doesn't mean you know every shape. God, there's not enough time in the world to learn every possible iteration of every shape, because you'd never get anything done otherwise. So whilst you're learning these exercises, try and keep a mind towards, what do I like? What kind of sounds do I want to focus on? And do your own research on this stuff as well. Okay, so let's go through the chords, and then that'll be it. That's more than enough to absorb. It's going to be like a 20-minute video, so I expect you to rewind. Okay, so here is our first chord. So it's a major 7 chord. We're not playing the A string. I'll wobble the A string here. If I hit that note, you can hear it's dead. I don't know what that note's coming from, but I think it's actually me. Yeah, I'm tapping with my thumb. Anyways, the point being is, if I pluck that note in the chord, it's dead. So a lot of fingerings for chords are about what you don't play, as opposed, you know, these traditional triad chords, you play everything, and they're kind of obvious sounding chords, not as musical as this. Got a little bit of ooh to it, got a bit of music to it, got a bit of inspiration to it. Okay, so a lot of it's what you don't play. I won't go through all the fingerings, because we can go through this in class, and I did give a handout, but we've got a major 7 chord, and that's our A major 7. Our next chord is going to be a B minor 7, and that's a flat finger straight across there, muting the next string, and then you might find that if you play straight up and down, you want to tilt your hand for this chord. Okay, so we got our B major 7. B minor 7. Then we've got C sharp minor 7. This is another fingering, another version of a minor 7 chord. C sharp minor 7. Then we've got our D major 7. D major 7 chord. Then we've got our E7 chord. I'm just playing the middle strings for that, but because it's an E7 chord, we can make use of the top and the bottom E's here and actually strum the whole. Gives it quite a full, rich flavored chord. But if you're, say for instance, playing through that sequence, you might find that playing the open E's gives it a bit too much of an emphasis, so you might want to just play the middle 4 strings. Then our next chord is a F sharp minor 7 chord. with our root is actually on the D string at the 4th fret, so we're just playing the bottom 4 notes. And then our next chord is, well, this is called a half diminished chord, but I like to think of it as a minor 7 flat 5, and that's another name for it. And this is a G sharp minor 7 flat 5. And our last chord is our same as our first, just a different voicing. So we're back to A major 7, except for we're going to voice it like that. We're going to use that diagonal chord shape that I was showing you guys earlier. And shake it a little bit, the whammy bar. Okay, so to go backwards through those chords, just as a review, A major 7. Then we've got our G sharp half diminished. Then we've got our F sharp minor 7. Then we've got our E7. Then we've got our D major 7. Then we've got our C sharp minor 7. Then we've got our B minor 7. Then we're back to A major 7. Okay guys, now here's the fun bit. In the next video, I'm going to give you the exercise that ties all this stuff together. So work on this stuff, work on it in isolation, get your arpeggios down, get your modes down, then get the arpeggios down, then get the chords down, then watch the next video.